Currently down here to film some 8K helicopter aerials of downtown Los Angeles.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Got
I think every tech commercial out there
Yep.
wants a group of diverse, good-looking people walking around in a city, drinking coffee, having fun. Hey Indie Mogulers, Ted here, and today we are talking about how this shot, this single video that you're watching, has made us over $500 to date. And yes, this is all while we've been in LA working, and in all honesty, haven't really thought about it since we shot it, mostly because we didn't just shoot that one clip. That day we actually shot something like 100 shots just like this one, all of which are now online and selling as stock footage. So today we're gonna talk about everything you need to know about how to shoot and sell stock footage, even if you've already shot it for another gig. Now, if you don't know Luke, not only is he an amazing filmmaker that used to run the channel Newman Films, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably already heard of, but these days, not only is he working on films as usual, but Luke is also working as a high-end commercial DP. Now, these are the kinds of jobs that pay well, but beyond that, while Luke is getting hired to shoot these projects, Luke is also in the business of selling all that beautiful, juicy, high-quality video as stock footage for others to buy. In fact, as of last year, Luke and his wife Marika shot so much stock footage that they actually launched their own website, Savage Stock, which is basically the first ever publicly accessible 8K stock footage library.
As far as a client wanting something and me being able to piggyback off that and get some stock footage out of it, that pretty much happens anytime I do client work, because it's always been a good form of passive income for us. So I guess it's just a way to maybe think about future projects. We did a sci-fi project.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff's great stock.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Ted, you're selling footage that you got hired to shoot? Is that even legal? I mean, isn't that basically like getting paid twice for the same job? And to that, I say, yes, it is exactly like getting paid twice, which is exactly why I was so excited to talk about this topic. Now, for some reason, filmmakers don't like talking about stock. I think it's because it's business and because it's boring. In fact, when I searched it up online, we couldn't find a lot of tutorials or content about how to do it right. And this is in spite of the fact that many, many successful filmmakers that I know actually shoot and sell all their footage with this in mind. In fact, for some filmmakers I know, they even make the big bucks selling their stock footage to TV and projector companies to play on the big screen. The point is, in a crazy roller coaster industry that goes up and down, sometimes you work, sometimes you don't, selling stock is an amazing way to have passive income as a filmmaker.
What do I have on my hard drive? And I'm gonna upload that to a site, and then I have 100 shots and it doesn't do anything and they give up.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's where most filmmakers are at. So if you have 100 shots up, it's like you might sell one a month and make 40 bucks. So I think that turns a lot of people off it as an income stream in general.
Unfortunately, it's not that easy. Because if you're anything like me, you also probably know that these hard drives are full of footage and you can't afford the time to upload and tag every single clip. And if you're shooting, trying to think about stock footage, you may have no idea where to start. After all, what kind of footage do people really want? Do they want footage of this cup? Do they want footage of coffee getting poured? Do they want footage of some dude in a fake living room? What do you want? Let's do this. Stock footage, how to do it right, and what do people want? If you like this episode, remember this is only a portion of our discussion with Luke. If you want to hear the full discussion, make sure you head on over to the podcast. We're gonna put that in the link in the description down below. So what is the best-selling stock footage clip that you've ever had?
I would say aerials, and not necessarily specific aerials, more generic city aerials sell really well.
Number one, aerials. Now, specifically generic aerials, generic aerials of cities and landmarks where lots of production is already happening.
When I say generic, that means like bird's eye view looking straight down. You can't really tell what city it is. You know, like if you're just looking down at streets through skyscrapers, that could be New York, that could be Chicago. And then also city specific aerials do really well. And the bigger the city where more productions are happening, the better it will sell. So LA, New York.
Number two, time lapses. Now, time lapses are incredible stock footage. They're basically the OG when it comes to shooting stock. And there's basically always been a guarantee that time lapses will sell take after take. Or so I thought.
When motion control sliders came out, there's a lot of people that bought those. They went out and they shot a bunch of time lapses and they're like, what am I gonna do with all this footage? And so there's a ton of time lapse stuff. And so I feel like it's oversaturated and it might have died down.
That is right, Indie Mogulers. According to Luke, the time has finally come where time lapses for stock might not be as popular as it once was. So what does Luke actually recommend instead of time lapses in terms of selling?
Hyperlapses. Hyperlapses, I feel like they're mainstream, but they take a lot of work.
But let's redo this. Number 2, what is the type of stock footage that sells best after aerials? Is there any other type of category that sells particularly well?
Lifestyle.
Lifestyle footage.
Just because like getting an actor, an actress, or multiple people together for a shoot, that takes time, takes effort, coordinating schedules, all that stuff.
Now, lifestyle footage is basically footage that looks natural. The aim is to capture portraits of people in everyday situations like shopping, jogging, working, or hanging out with their families. Have you seen any ad for a tech company in the past like 10 years? There's a really good chance that you've watched a whole lot of this footage. And that makes sense because lifestyle footage is designed to look real. Except it's not. In fact, if you're really asking me what the key is to good lifestyle footage, it's that it's not real. It's actually what life looks like when it's ideal.
Especially people that are different races, different ethnicities. I think that's something a lot of people pay for.
But now that we know what sells, here's what we need next. How do we make sure that we shoot it in a way that sells best? Let's say someone's going out there and they are shooting just for stock. Or they're on a set and they've got some extra time.
Right.
What are like the shots that they need to get? Or what are the camera settings that they need to set?
I shoot everything 8K.
Yep. So 8K and at least 60 frames per second. But at least we don't have to shoot in RAW, right?
Just makes sense from a financial point of view to make it relevant for longer. And I think that's shooting RAW.
Now, I know what you're thinking, Ted, that seems way too crazy. There's no way that I can compete with any of these stock shooters and hold the phone because guess what?
I know it's overkill. And the thing that I wanted to make sure Savage Stock was future-proof. If we are gonna go spend some money on this project, do this, I would rather it not be obsolete in 10 years and have to reshoot it. Full disclosure, like we have our own stock site. Nobody's bought an 8K shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all like 90% do 1080p.
And no, those are not raw either. The point though is that when Luke shoots for stock, his goal and your goal should be to future-proof everything as much as possible.
Color grading styles, they don't last forever.
Yeah.
Right? So the thing that's hot now with color grading will look bad in 5 years. You could look back at some of our stuff where we use this thing called Magic Bullet Mojo. And now when I look back on that, I'm like, it's an outdated shot just by the grade. The rule of thumb with stock, if you are going to grade it, go basic.
It's the generic but high quality clip that anyone could use. It's general. Speaking of general, to finish this off, let's make sure that we talk about our 2 secrets to make sure that you actually upload your footage correctly, to make sure that it actually gets seen and bought.
With stock, I would say we are in the boat where you put the tags in the title.
Yeah.
So definitely be very descriptive in your title. Also include some generic stuff in your title, but I always personally structure it generic stuff at the end of the title.
Now these tips are pretty simple, but very easy to get wrong. If you've ever uploaded a video onto YouTube or Vimeo, you already know how important hashtags or titles are. So what Luke is emphasizing is to think of your titles as search words for people to find your content. What you're trying to do is get inside of the head of someone who might want to buy your footage. Ask yourself, what would they be searching for? For example, if I was trying to tag this shot right here, it'd probably be something along the lines of Asian dude talking to camera, living room. No. Asian dude talking to camera in living room, 4K cinematic. Something along those lines would probably sell.
It's definitely one of those things like you shouldn't skip it. It's worth spending time on because that's how people find your footage.
Gotcha. But none of this actually matters if you don't know how to shoot it right. So for that, we're not just talking again. Luke, Marika, and I are actually gonna go out. We're gonna go to a place. We're actually gonna shoot it in 60 frames a second. We're gonna shoot it in 4K. We're gonna shoot some lifestyle footage. We're gonna shoot some aerials, get some beautiful stock footage, learn how to upload it. We're gonna do all this because that's how you actually learn something. Let's do this. So what we're gonna do is we're going to just shoot a little bit of stock footage here. Let's do this. Let's start with lifestyle and how to shoot it right.
Well, I mean, you could almost treat it just like a narrative structure. Start wide, get an establishing shot, then move in closer.
Now, this will give you some semblance of order and a mental shot list for you to when you shoot, instead of just pointing your camera aimlessly and pointing at whatever looks good. It'll make sure that you get your wides, your establishing shots of each location, your coverage, your close-ups of each important emotional beat that a viewer could want to buy. And as far as camera movements,
try to create parallax. 2D movements are never that interesting. Add in like a third movement, whether you're going around the subject or you're moving the camera.
Next up was aerials. Alrighty, so just arriving at the airport, about to shoot some aerial footage with Luke. So yes, to do this actually right, Luke took me into a normal aerials rig for him, which was this thing, which is insane. I know, it's not indie. I'm sorry. I know you wanted an indie episode, but I just couldn't do it. It was too cool. It's too cool. But that being said, guess what? There's a ton that I actually learned about how to shoot aerials, even with a normal drone, just by riding along and doing this helicopter rig with Luke.
Are we 2 miles away from downtown here? I'm assuming.
We're really, I mean, that's downtown.
Yeah.
You want to try, Ted?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, going left.
Keep going left. Down a
It's
little
so
bit.
hard. It's
There you
actually
go.
really fun, but it's super hard.
Now, while we were up in the air, we made sure to get a wide variety of camera moves. The first thing we did was to vary our level of movement per shot, filming some aerials with a little bit more of a subtle parallax and others with a faster tracking speed. After all, not everybody is looking for that grandiose sweeping shot of LA. After that, just like Luke mentioned during the other shoot, we added a third degree of motion to most of our shots, such as zooming into a focal point while parallaxing around it at the same time. Now, again, this can all be applied to shooting on a normal drone, so remember, you don't need a fancy helicopter to get beautiful stock footage, as long as you keep these tips in the back of your mind. Woo! That was ridiculous. That was super fun.
Sure. Later.
Good to see you, brother.
Good one.
For sure.
Next good one.
All right, see you later, guys. There you have it, everything you need to know about how to shoot, upload, and sell stock footage. If you want to check out some examples about how to do this right, or if you're just interested in picking up some amazing stock footage, make sure you head on over to the Savage Stock website. Again, this is Luke's baby, not that baby. He's been working on this baby for a really long time. This is the world's first 8K only stock footage library, so if you want to be blown away, definitely check it out. We'll put that link in the description down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a comment down below with your stock footage and what it looks like. Maybe we'll critique it, maybe we won't, maybe I'll buy it. I got $500 from the last stock footage shot. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you guys next time. And of course, thank you for tuning in for this episode. Catch you guys next time.
Thank you. I shouldn't say
Cool.
anything.
Nah, you're good, dude. Nah, dude.
Because like I'm in
Nah, dude,
I'm in
it's
YouTube mode.
It's YouTube. We film things once.